Hello, I'm live. Let's see what time we got here. It is 5:38 p.m. on Thursday, March 30th. Just sitting here reading stuff, going through my interwebs, news items, things of that sort. And of course, given the news of the past few days, just some things I had on my mind, felt like talking about. I want you to picture in your mind a pendulum. So weird way to start this, isn't it? But picture a pendulum. Now, some of you may not know what a pendulum is. I mean, most of the guys that are friends on my list, I know you know, but there are others who may see this on another person's page who may not know. So look it up. Pendulum, pendulum. A pendulum, for lack of a more technical description, is just something that swings back and forth. You can push it and it'll start swinging and it'll go from one side to the other and back to the other side. Eventually it slows down and it finds its way back to the middle somewhere. Now, I want you to imagine that pendulum as regards human nature. Human nature. What is that? Well, I have some friends on my Facebook page who are psychiatrists, psychologists, who could help with that if they care to chime in the comments section. But human nature is something we've dealt with throughout history. Humans behave certain ways in regard to certain stimuli. For example, if I wanted to convince somebody, by the way, please excuse my sniffles. It's that time of year. Allergies are starting to bother me. If I approach somebody to try to get them to do something for me or something that I would like to see them do, some way I'd like to see them think, do I have a better chance of doing that by approaching them and talking to them and being reasonable and rational and polite? Or do I have a better chance of getting that to happen by poking them in the chest and making demands and threatening them as, if you don't do this, here's what's going to happen? Human nature being what it is, if I were doing that to you, which way would you react to better? Which method would I have a better chance of getting my point across? So this is what I wanted to talk about today. In recent news, we've got the school shooting in Nashville, and I'm sure there's more information that will be coming out in the days ahead. But right now, what we know is that the woman who did the shooting was a trans woman, or trans man, excuse me. This crap still confuses me. All right, trans man means she was a woman thinking she was a man. Anyway, so she thought she was a man. All right. Apparently, some people in her life did not agree with that or were not accepting of that, as is their right. Okay. How they choose to exhibit that dislike or disagreement is another thing altogether, but they chose not to play that game with her. And this upset her, makes her mad. And so her solution to that problem was, I'm just going to go out and kill some Christians because I see the Christians as my enemies, because it was my Christian parents or the Christian school or Christian whatever that chose not to agree with my assessment of who and what I am. Now, how she thought that was going to change things, I have no idea. I don't pretend to understand irrational minds. That's just the way some people work, I guess. Rather than accept the fact that, okay, this is who I think I am, this is how I'm going to live my life, and those who choose not to accept it, I'm going to leave them behind and move forward, okay? Instead, I'm just going to kill some people. I don't pretend to understand that way of thinking. Maybe some of you can help me with that. I don't know, but that's what she chose to do. Now, as a result of that, in the news in the coming days, of course, the blame is being placed by the transgender movement in this country on those who choose not to accept transgenderism. Okay, there are people who aren't going to agree with that, people who aren't going to go along with it, people who are not going to play that game. Now, I'm not saying that people who consider themselves transgender should be mistreated, that they don't have the same rights that every other human being has. They don't have better rights. They don't have different rights. They have the same rights. And they should expect to be treated fairly, equitably, not rudely. If somebody comes to me and says, well, and it's obvious to me it's a man. In fact, I've actually had occasion to meet a couple of men who thought they were women. And I called them by the name that they asked to be called by. Oh, my name is Cheryl. Okay, hi, Cheryl. How you doing, Cheryl? Fine. Now, beyond that, I don't have to play that game. I don't have to take part in that delusion. But rather than stand there with somebody I just met for the first time and have an argument or come to blows, those are your choices. I'm just going to try to smooth things over, move on to someone else. Not going to spend a lot of time with that person. Now, that's just me. Some people may take a different tack. I don't know. But now the trans community is coming out, and you've seen some of the memes. You've seen some of the comments. It's not anything we've done. It's what you people are doing. It's your fault. This violence being visited upon others, especially in the Christian community, is your fault because you won't accept us for who we are. Well, aside from not accepting that, did they do anything of violence towards you? I mean, that would be a point that I'd be willing to work with, violence, nonviolence. I simply choose not to agree with you versus I'm going to punch you in the face because you claim to be something that I don't agree with. You're always going to run into that. If we're going to start, beating people up or shooting people just because they do or say something we disagree with, well, I'm not sure where that's going to lead. This idea that if somebody doesn't like what I claim to be or chooses not to participate in my delusion means that I'm justified in killing them, that makes you just as wrong as anybody else would be. I don't care if you're Christian, non-Christian, whatever you are. You don't just go around killing people because they disagree with you on something. Now, if they're violently harming you or trying to violently take away your rights as a human and as an American, well, yeah, I can see standing up to that. I certainly would. And I wouldn't be surprised if anybody else did. But how do you justify killing 3 children and 3 teachers in a school? Now, understand something. I'm an atheist. Many of you who already know me know that. So I'm not coming at this from a Christian or non-Christian point of view. I'm coming at this from a human nature point of view. Simply being human and having certain rights and expectations of others. And you have the right to disagree with people. You have a right not to participate in their delusion. That doesn't mean you have a right to harm people. And unless you are harming them, they don't have a right to harm you in return. I'm all about self-defense. But if I tried to harm somebody every time they said something I disagree with, well, hell, I don't know that I'd ever stop doing that. I have to be careful with my words because, I'm on YouTube and who knows, they may yet suspend this because they don't like what I'm saying. But pendulums, back to the original. All right, it's going to swing one way. All right, I'm transgender. Well, I hate transgenders. Well, now I'm going to fight you. Well, I'm going to fight you back. And somewhere in the middle, it's like, all right, look, live and let live. As long as you're not hurting me, I don't care what you do. And as long as I'm not hurting you, you shouldn't care what I do. If you don't like the fact, Mr. and Mrs. Transgender, that I don't care for transgenderism, that's fine. Move on with your life. Go do something else with those who do agree with and cater to that. I don't see the problem with that. But when you start harming other people, I mean, physically harming them, not just saying something that hurts their feelings. I've had things said about me that I didn't care for, but I didn't go out and beat people up or shoot up a school. Am I getting through? Am I making any sense here? I know this might seem a bit like I'm rambling. I really didn't write this down and prepare a speech. Just wanted to speak to what I'm feeling right now, what's on my mind. But when that equilibrium reasserts itself and we're back in the middle, it's like live and let live. You do your thing, I'll do my thing. As long as you're not hurting me, as long as I'm not hurting you, as long as you're not infringing on my rights, I'm not going to infringe on your rights. But there are lines throughout this that you just don't cross. And one of them is this idea that, well, we're going to expose young children to drag queen shows. This could very well be, Mr. and Mrs. Transgender, where part of this problem started and why you're getting such pushback from other people, Christians and otherwise. Like I said, I'm not a Christian, but I don't agree with these drag shows for kids either. And shame on you parents who take your kids to those shows. I don't know what the hell you think you're accomplishing with that, aside from confusing your children even further at a stage in their life when they don't know anything and they're still learning things. What grown-ups do, consenting adults do with their time and with each other is their business. I've addressed this before in other posts and in other videos. If you want, we have a place here in Richmond called, I think it's called Godfrey's. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, where they have drag shows for adult audiences, and people who go there know that that's what they're going there to see. Fine. You're consenting adults. You know what's going on there. Now, if you go there and you get offended because it's a drag show, well, then you're an idiot because you went there. But if you go there wanting to see, knowing that you're going to see a drag show, fine, go for it. It's a private venue. It's not open to children. Have at it. What you do in your own bedroom, what you do in your own home is your business. When you bring it out into the streets, then you make it everybody's business. And this goes for heterosexuals as well. If I see a man and a woman in the park sitting on a bench, making out, doing everything except taking their clothes off, I don't go out there to see that. And I shouldn't have to explain to my kids what those two people are doing. It's private behavior. Keep it private. But this pendulum thing, when you start pushing people, whether it's the trans people pushing others or other people pushing the trans people, eventually they're going to push back. And they might not push back in a pleasant way. Now, that doesn't excuse what happened in Nashville. It doesn't excuse violence of any kind. If somebody's not attacking you or trying to harm you physically, then just toughen up. People are always going to say things you don't like. People are often going to call you names if they disagree with you. It's just names. Put your big boy pants on and get over it. I'm sorry, should I say big boy pants or big person pants? See, that's how stupid things have gotten anymore. So think about human nature. Think about what it is you're trying to accomplish. Think about what the reaction to that is going to be, and let your actions be governed accordingly. Now, if you start poking people to the chest and pushing them and making demands and telling them what they're going to do or else, then don't be surprised when they start poking you back. It's going to happen. That's human nature. Again, there are lines you just don't cross. When it comes to the children, to our children, the only people who should be exposing them to these things, if they choose to, are their parents. And I would question the sanity of those parents if they do think it's okay to expose their children to things like that. You have to wonder where they're coming from. But that's my opinion. You may disagree with me. But I'm not going to beat you over the head or threaten to shoot you because you disagree with me. So, again, I just wanted to get that off my chest. It's something that's been eating at me the past couple of days. I mean, there's so many things we could be talking about right now. The gun control issue, of course, is back in the news, as it always is after one of these. And common sense is out the window. Nobody on the left, none of the anti-gunners want to talk about common sense solutions. It's always about ban guns, confiscate guns. Another law. We need another law because all the laws we have now obviously aren't working. So we just need one more. That one more special law, that magical law that's going to make all of this stop. Instead of, again, back to human nature, what's the best way to stop someone from killing other people, from killing innocent people who have done nothing wrong? Shoot back. A sign's not going to stop them. How many times have we seen these shootings in these gun-free zones that have signs all over the place? That didn't stop anybody. And what we do know so far about this shooter in Nashville is she had contemplated going to other schools and venues and doing the shooting, but found out that their security was stronger than it was at the Christian school that she did go to. So what does that tell us? Now, again, it just common sense. It's human nature. These people may be crazy, but they're not stupid. I don't think she went there hoping that she would be shot. So she picked that place instead of some other places because she knew she was less likely to be shot. Human nature. Let's stop pretending that we can wave a magic wand and make this all go away because we're not crazy like these other people are crazy. And understand that the only way you're going to stop them is if you have the tools and the means and the ability to fight back rather than waiting for someone else to get there to fight back for you. Again, to me, this is just so commonsensical. I don't know why it's so hard for the left to understand, but say it as often as you like to. They just don't want to get it. Anyway, I'm not going to bother you anymore with this. I think I've pretty much gotten it off my chest. I hope you understood the point I was trying to make. I realize I was rambling a little bit here, but just consider human nature. Consider that pendulum and where it is now and what we have to do to get it back to equilibrium. All right. Talk to you later.